Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Niles, and I'm the Vice President for Enrollment and Communications at Ohio Wesleyan, and we are thrilled to welcome you to our Bishop Plus session for this evening, Bishops Abroad, here to talk about all of the many opportunities that Ohio Wesleyan students have to study off campus, study away, study abroad, are two of the experts from our International and Off-Campus Programs Office, as well as three students who have had extensive experiences that they're here to share with you. I'm going to let Darrell and Lisa introduce themselves, and then our students, actually recent graduates, and they'll share their stories with you, and then we will take questions. If you want to submit questions, please do along the way. You can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We will probably wait and start questions after we've had a chance to hear from everyone, hear a bit of their experiences and their stories, but keep those questions coming and we will definitely get to them. We do have one student, Tiffany Moore, who is on her way. She will be joining us, but we will start with the others. Darrell and Lisa, you want to kick things off?
Thanks, Stephanie. My name is Darrell Alban. I'm Director of International and Off-Campus Programs. I'm also the Administrative Director of OWU Connection Programs. And as you probably already know well, our OWU Connection Programs are opportunities for students to get real-world experiences, to engage in high-impact educational practices, such as study abroad and study away. Now, we use those terms not really interchangeably, because study abroad is part of study away, and as you'll hear from our recent grads in just a moment, our domestic study away programs can really offer great opportunities too. So we do have traditional study abroad. We have international partners, universities, and programs all over the world that provide programs in the spring and in the fall semester, in the spring semester, and also during the summer. These programs are for all majors, and we have students that do them who are engaged in all majors on campus. It doesn't matter what your plans are for your undergraduate degree program here. We can indeed find study abroad opportunities for you. We also have we have some really great domestic study away opportunities, and we'll have the students talk about their experience with those in due course. But you know, for many students, an opportunity to do an internship in New York, maybe in the fine arts, the performing arts, in things like museum management and gallery management, for instance, or in Philadelphia, if you're you know, involved in business, accounting, econ, the social sciences, or maybe at the Oak Ridge National Labs in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, if you're in the physical sciences, or if you're interested in education, doing your student teaching through one of our programs in Chicago. We have some domestic semester-long experiences also that students can get really excited about, and some students find that the exact off-campus experience that they want for a semester is actually a domestic one. We also offer a good number of faculty-led international and domestic experiences every year. We call them travel learning courses. These options, and you'll hear again from our students some examples of these, but these are options that are short-term. Students take a course during either the fall or the spring semester, and then as part of that course, they have the option to do a 1 to 2.5 week experience traveling abroad or traveling domestically. This gives them the opportunity, the students who do these, the opportunity to get field work with their fellow students and the faculty leads in the course. It allows them to get field experience that's a natural extension of what they've done in the classroom. We also offer a spring break Interfaith Service Week. This is a program of opportunities for students to do a week of service over spring break, both domestic and international. We also, for students who are motivated and for student groups that are motivated to do so, we have the opportunity through the Theory to Practice grant program and other grant programs on campus for students to create their own experiences, take both creative and research control over a project that naturally arises out of their experience here. And it's not just academic experiences that they might have, but also maybe co-curricular experiences too, where they want to propose a trip abroad, propose a research project domestically that will have them traveling with their peers or with faculty and staff to do projects abroad and in the US. There's so many opportunities here that in that first semester of a student's experience, there are plenty of opportunities to learn just about, you know, what might be some options, you know, for you, the student, what your options might be over your 4 years here. I could keep talking for a long time. Maybe Lisa, if you could introduce yourself and add to anything like that, maybe and mention UC 162 and the role that it plays in the OWU Connection.
Sure. Thank you, Darrell. My name is Lisa Ho, and I'm Assistant Director of International and Off-Campus Programs, and I get to work closely with Darrell on all of these incredible opportunities that he just outlined. I've had the pleasure of doing a number of these with students. I have been on a travel learning course. I have been an advisor for a number of interfaith service teams, and I've also been on TPGs, or Theory to Practice grants, with students. So when you arrive on campus in the fall, I think it's easy for students to get overwhelmed with the volume of opportunities that are presented to you. And one of the ways that we like to facilitate thoughtful reflection and planning and dreaming around these opportunities is in the UC 160 first year seminar, the freshman experience, OWU experience seminar that we do with first year students. So that's a course that you'll take in the fall. And you'll have any number of, there's a number of faculty and staff that teach that course. I teach a section of it. Specifically, it's an affinity section for LGBTQ students, but we have a number of these for all different students from different backgrounds and interests. And the design of the course is to help acclimate you and to orient you to the university and all the opportunities that we have. There's definitely a focus on all of these things that we're going to be talking about, what we label the OWU Connection, these high impact experiences. There's an element of the course that's about course planning and academics, thinking about what you might want to major in, thinking about what that would look like spread over 4 years. So what does it look like for you to take these courses in sequence that you might need for this major or that? We have a number of students that double major at OWU, so it's important for them to be sort of thinking about that right from the get-go. We also have a focus on resources, like where would you go on campus if you wanted to learn more about the Career Connection or career services? Where would you go for counseling services? Where would you go to get academic support in our Academic Resource Center? So those are things that we cover in UC 160. I think it's most important that we get students in front of you, that you get to meet your peers who have navigated all of these opportunities themselves. So I think what I'll do next is introduce you to some of our students. We have a number of students that work directly with our office as what we call Merrick Mentors. These are students that staff our desk in Merrick Hall every single day, and they're there for you just to walk up and start a conversation with and start asking them questions about these opportunities. So I think what I'll do first is hand this off to Paris Norman, who has been a Merrick Mentor of ours for the last year and a half, maybe, Paris?
I think so, yeah.
So I'll hand this to you and let you talk about your experiences in the OWU Connection.
Okay, so yes, as Lisa said, my name is Paris Norman. I was a Merrick Mentor, and I really enjoyed my experience. I first got involved with the OWU Connection my sophomore year. at OWU, I did a travel learning course. It was called Shakespeare and the Sides of Performance. And we went to England. We went to study Shakespeare. We went to the Rose Theater, the Globe Theater. We went to his house, all types of things. So Darrell explained travel learning courses. And then right after that, I did my first theater practice grant. We went to France, and I studied French imperialism and its effects on immigration in southern France and in Paris today. So we went to Paris and we went to Marseille, and we stayed there for about a week. And then junior year, I believe, the first semester, I wrote a theater practice grant to go to Mexico, and we studied the local culture and local entrepreneurs there, and how basically small businesses in other countries are able to get like business loans and things like that. So we were really able to learn about like indigenous culture, the modern culture now. So that was amazing. And then I studied abroad in Paris, France, for the spring 2019 semester. And then right after that, I did another theater practice grant to New Orleans, in which I studied African-American women's history during the colonial times, like what they were doing. I learned a lot. That was a really good theater practice grant. And then the last one that I did was to Ghana, and I went with 2 other students, and we studied Pan-Africanism and its influence in Ghana today. So we studied famous Pan-Africanists like W.E.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey. We went to the slave dungeons that are along the coast of West Africa. We did a lot. So I've done a lot at OWU. And yeah, so.
I have to unmute. Thank you, Paris. Why don't we pass it off then to Tiffany? She was just on that TPG with you, and have her share, Tiff, have you share a little bit about your experiences. And you have some experiences outside the OWU Connection, I know, too. So if you want to share a little bit about that.
Yes. So hi, my name is Tiffany Moore. I recently graduated, and the first study abroad thing that I did was New Zealand. I was able to take a course in New Zealand. It was a video production course, and I was able to make a short film with like 15 other students from different universities in the US. We all traveled to New Zealand. And then that was over the summer for 1 month, and it was outside of the OWU Connection. But for that particular program, I learned about it because the people who run the program visited campus one day, and they were handing out pamphlets. So that's basically how I learned about it. And then the next thing that I did was the New York Arts Program, and I had 2 internships in New York this last fall semester, and I interned at Atlantic Pictures and Breakthrough Films. And then I recently went to Ghana with Paris on a TPG, and we studied Pan-Africanism. And that was all that I've done.
That's all. That was a lot. You're also a student athlete, yes? Tiff?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am. I run track. I ran track for 4 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So that you were able to do that while taking advantage of all these other opportunities. That's awesome.
yes, I was. It was very easy. As long as you communicate with your coaches, they love when students participate in things like this. So they worked really well. It worked well for me.
That's awesome. Thanks. We'll wrap it up with Thalia last. And there's a bridge here because Thalia was in New York with you. So if you want to share about your New York arts experience, and particularly your internship, I think that's really great. And your theory to practice and all the other things you got to do.
Sure. Yeah, so nice to meet everyone. My name is Thalia Salas Brickwell, and I also graduated in the class of 2020. As Lisa mentioned, I was most recently in the New York Arts Program studying off campus, and we lived in Brooklyn, and I specifically interned at the Whitney Museum of American Art within their Visual Resources Department. And that was a great experience. I loved studying in New York. But that wasn't my first opportunity to travel through OWU. My first opportunity was freshman year. I did a theory to practice grant and studied in Oxford and London. And I was researching museums in the Age of Enlightenment and the origins of museums. And I also did a second theory to practice grant the summer of 2017. And it was a 2-week program where I studied in Florence as well as Venice. And I was studying early museums in Florence and contrasting them to the contemporary biennial, which was an international art show in Venice. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Could we go back through real quick and have each of you maybe say a few words about, since you're all just recently graduated as of like a week ago, maybe say a little bit about how these experiences that you've been able to have informed choices that you're going to make moving forward. If you could just spend a couple minutes on that.
Sure, I can start. I think particularly in my career path in the fine arts industry and museum management, it's really important to have experience. And I feel really lucky that I was able to gain that while still in college. So that's been something that's been benefiting me now. And I also had a fantastic experience leading a group of students on a service trip. And we were learning with the same nonprofit that Paris worked with, I believe, in Bucerias, Mexico, about how tourism affected their economy, as well as about immigration and their culture. So I think there's a lifelong learning path, and it's going to continue to impact me for the rest of my life. And I'm really thankful that I was able to have that experience.
I can go next. So for me, as someone who's into like media and film, and I'm really interested in like producing some of my own short films, I've made a lot of connections through the New Zealand program and New York Arts. Like I have a long list of contacts of other students who I've met who are also interested in the same things as me. And we've recently I got in contact with an old friend from New Zealand, and I was saying, hey, I'm working on a project. I want you to help me out. So certain things like that, I've been able to make a lot of good connections. I know a few other friends who are working in Atlanta right now on a few projects, and they want to get together. She's a director, and I'm interested in being a producer. So just the opportunities that I've had, I was able to make a lot of good connections. So for the future, I know a lot of people who I can call on for any projects that I want to work on.
So I would say, since I definitely had a mixture of experiences, and so I think all of them have, the major thing I took away from them was just learning about different cultures, learning about different histories, and just how things are just so mixed up together. And especially with, I'll just pinpoint just the Pan-Africanism one. I realized that a lot of people don't know about African-American history. A lot of people don't know about African history. And then going to Mexico, I saw just the indigenous population and then like the non-indigenous population, their clashes and their tensions. And so, I don't know, I just feel like I want to help bridge those gaps in some way, and I'm still working on that. But that's what I see. I see a lot of gaps in understanding, and I feel like if we understand each other, the world will be better. So, yeah.
Thank you all so much. Darrell, I don't know if you want to weigh in on anything else, or we can hand this back to Stephanie and see how we want to go from here.
I actually had a question. Oh, Darrell, did you want to jump in?
I was just, I think, going to say the same thing you're going to say. If any of the participants would like to ask a particular question of any of the students or of us about the programs, we encourage that, even if it's a very specific question. You know, we have study abroad programs available all over the world. when Tiffany was talking about her experience in New Zealand, the very next year we had two students, two psych majors, doing a theory to practice grant funded experience at the same university. We have many we have many opportunities that can really make the experience for any major international and global.
Good. Darrell, there was one specific question about opportunities specifically for students interested in pre-vet and zoology. Can you speak to abroad study away opportunities in that vein?
Yeah, in fact, and Lisa, you might want to jump in after me, but we have some absolutely fabulous experiences, study abroad experiences for students in the biological sciences. We have been sending regularly for nearly 50 years a travel learning course to the Galapagos Islands. It's island biology. That travel learning course goes every second year, has gone every second year for decades. We also have other travel learning courses in botany, microbiology, in zoology, that again are, the field experience is embedded in the course that takes the entire semester. We also have some great semester-long opportunities. We have one of our partners is the School for Field Studies. They offer field semesters all over the world in everything from marine biology to wildlife management. We've had students that have done summer programs in Tanzania with them, a semester program in the Turks and Caicos Islands, marine biology, a program in environmental science in Australia. So we do have the School for Field Studies, a partner of ours for decades too, where students can spend a semester doing biological sciences abroad. We also, Lisa, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think the thing I would add is that zoology is definitely one of our most popular majors, and we have quite a few students that will approach us with that desire to do a semester-long program and think maybe it's not available to them because there's such a rigorous schedule to the courses. And the good news is that there are programs that can accommodate the courses that you need. It's just important that you come see us early on. You most likely won't study abroad until your junior year. That is a requirement at the university that you have junior status. So we've got a couple years to plan for it, but it's important that we start early with that.
So Lisa, you may not study abroad until your junior year, but it sounds like there are certainly opportunities for students to take advantage of off-campus learning much earlier than that.
Absolutely. In fact, we encourage, I think the faculty-led travel that we've been talking about are a great kind of gateway into the OWU Connection or into travel experiences as a student, because those are faculty-led and guided experiences. So the faculty are kind of doing the heavy work of a lot of the logistics around travel planning. So we really encourage first-year students to check those out. It happens really quickly when you arrive on campus. The application process for those starts in September. So we just encourage students to check out the Travel Learning Fair right away. Fall semester, read that OWU Daily. You're going to know the OWU Daily really well as a student here. So read the daily and get the updates of what's happening with that. But yes, any of the other opportunities we've talked about, interfaith service teams, theory to practice grants, travel learning, all of those are available to every student regardless of class rank. It's just the semester long and year long programs that we do ask that students kind of have that junior status. Now you might reach that your second year depending on if you come in with credits or not. So we do have students that might go abroad spring semester of their sophomore year. But again, if you come talk to us, we can navigate those requirements with you and talk about what is really involved with the eligibility. Real quick, I'll mention if you want to check out our website, our international and off-campus program site, we have an online presentation called Round 1 it's listed in our steps to study away, and you can do the full presentation now. It's 45 minutes to go through the online presentation, and it gives you all the steps that you need to know to study away, and all the eligibility requirements are outlined in round 1. So you could even check that out this summer.
Also, if you're thinking about particular programs, or if you just want to browse available programs on our website, we also have a full catalog that's web-based, so that you can search by location, major. If you have a particular interest, like doing an internship while you're studying abroad, you can all search that right off of our webpage.
Another specific question that's come in: what's the most popular study abroad location for a business major?
Do you want me to take that, Darrell?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So this is a great question, because again, a number of our business majors, we even have international business majors that will come to the office, have very specific requirements that need to be met. And we've worked very closely with the Voltimani Center and the business management, econ management majors to look at programs and providers that will offer the exact courses that you will need for your major. And we even have a spreadsheet of locations that sort of supply those courses. Barcelona tends to be a really popular spot for international business majors. And believe it or not, Prague in the Czech Republic is also another popular location. It's in Central Europe, and you have access to a lot of different locations. Obviously, London is a popular location for business majors. Another one to think about is Dublin, Ireland, just being kind of a European center. And then obviously off the continent of Europe, you can get around to places in East Asia and Japan. So there are a lot of opportunities, but I think the most popular ones do tend to be European-based programs: Barcelona, Prague, London.
And a lot of these locations, you do not need to have language preparation for them, because English is the lingua franca, the language of business. You know, most often students do choose to study away in locations where they have some language preparation, if it's not in an Anglophone country. But it's surprising the opportunities, the breadth of opportunities that are available for business majors.
Terrific. Several of you mentioned the theory to practice grants. One of the questions that's been posed: can you speak about that in greater depth?
I'm wondering if maybe Paris can take this a little bit,
Yeah.
given your experience.
Paris?
Yeah. Okay. So I like the theory to practice grant. It's my favorite. So basically, theory to practice grant is broken up into parts. So the first part is the project objective. So it's what you want to get out of this. Normally, I write it in bullet points. Just it's very clear and succinct. You have a word limit, 125 words. And then the next one is the next section is you describing your project, and this can be you know, just like a little paragraph, just like with what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then you also want to include an itinerary in there, and this part has to be 500 words. So it may sound like a lot, but really you have to be pretty concise and get your point across. And then the next section is the sharing and evaluation. This is basically how you're going to share your project. So for example, Tiffany and I and the other student, Kiana, we did the student symposium. They just made it virtual this time, but we're going to do the student symposium. It's basically where we shared like a bulletin board of our research, what we found out in Ghana, pictures and everything like that. Some people do just presentations in front of like a club that they know, or they go back to their high school and they share what they know, what they learned. You can get pretty creative with it. And then the personal statements. A personal statement has to be about 500 words. It's basically how you as a student will benefit from this trip, how you've prepared for the trip. You can talk about maybe a class that you took. For the Ghana trip, I focused on my African American history classes. I focused on my involvement in the different multicultural clubs on campus. So I was in our African and Caribbean club, Rafiki, but then I was also in Black Student Union. I was on the cabinet for both of those. Tiffany was too, and Kiana. So it's like we were able to get some real life experience working with Pan-Africanism. And we talked about that in our personal statements. And then the last part is the budget. So I actually like making the budget because you get to look at, like hotels and whatnot. You email Lisa and be like, hey, Lisa, could you look at this hotel for me for this date to this date? And she's more than happy to look at however many you need. Airplane flights and things like that, food, transportation, obviously this all has to be, realistic, and like, you're not going to, don't put like a 5-star hotel on there because it's not, you don't need that, so we like a 3-star, but yeah, theater practice grant, I like it because it's just so flexible, and it's anything that you want to study. So I think a lot of science majors and humanities majors, not just for humanities, science majors, I remember hearing about one where a guy did, can you hear me? It said my connection was a little unstable. Hello? Okay. Yeah, I remember hearing one about, okay. I remember hearing a theater practice grant about a guy who wanted to do like colonoscopies for rats. He was like a science major and he got it. He got like the equipment for it, so you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want with the theater practice grant. It's very, very, very nice. And a lot of people don't get the chance to do research like that in undergrad. You normally have to wait till you're like in graduate school, do a Fulbright or something. So I like it.
Paris, I think you mentioned you were a Merrick mentor. Can you say a little bit more about that experience, what that is, what role the Merrick mentors play, and how a student could utilize that opportunity?
Yeah, so normally Merrick mentors are people who've had some type of interaction with the OWU Connection. There's some of us who've done like theater practice grants, some of us who've done only travel learning courses, they just want people who have have experienced the OWU Connection, and or can help you understand the OWU Connection. So we basically will help students with their rough drafts of their theater practice grants. We can read it and look at the budget and say like, hey, this looks good, this doesn't, sound right. Maybe like, what point are you trying to get across? Just helping them edit them. We can also help them look for study abroad programs through Video Abroad. Some students, they want to meet with Darrell or Lisa immediately. And we just found that a lot of times they just want to look for a study abroad program. And so that's something that Merrick Mentors can help out with. Students can also do that by themselves, but just looking at their studies and things like that, we can help them out as well. What else? We those are the major ones. We like help them with their application for study abroad. Sometimes we like take in their paperwork. So yeah, just to use a Merrick Mentor, you just walk into the office and we're sitting there waiting for you. So yeah.
That's great.
There's a couple more things
Paris,
I would
Thalia,
mention.
and Tiffany. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Sorry about that. I was just going to mention real quickly, we have our mentors come to the UC 160 classes. So you get introduced to the mentors right away in your first semester. And then also the mentors help students get financial aid for study abroad. So they're well-versed in a lot of our external grants and scholarships, particularly the Gilman Scholarship from the U.S. Department of State, which Paris did receive for her study abroad experience. So we have folks who can help students access those resources. So I just wanted to add that part.
That's great. Thank you. I was going to ask Thalia, Paris, and Tiffany. Lisa had asked you earlier about how your abroad study away experiences have informed your postgraduate plans. But what about on the way in? When you were looking at Ohio Wesleyan, when you were just starting your experience, did you intend to travel as much as you did? Did you know that these were opportunities you could take advantage of? How did that inform your choice, or how did you get involved in the first place?
I'll go first. I definitely knew that I wanted to study abroad. I wanted to study abroad when I went to Ohio Wesleyan, and I was really excited to learn about the OWU Connection. So I definitely was like, you know, I like the liberal arts education. I like that I could, I like small classes. My high school is very small, so I was looking for that, but I was also looking for liberal arts, and then I was looking for a school that really encouraged you to study abroad and get out of America. So yes, I was well aware of the opportunities at Ohio Wesleyan for studying abroad.
Thalia or Tiffany,
Same for me when I was, sure. The same for me kind of applied when I was making my decision where to go to school. I think Ohio Wesleyan had an extremely strong study abroad and studying domestically programs. So I really wanted to experience that. And I was introduced to theory to practice grants. Probably I first heard about it in UC 160, but my freshman year, I had a campus job at the Ross Art Museum, which is a campus art museum. And one of the women who directs the museum was applying to a theory to practice grant and invited me to apply alongside her. So that's how I heard about theory to practice grants. And for my service learning trip to Mexico, I learned about that through it must have been a fair of some sort. It might have been a service fair. So I would encourage everyone to attend those fairs and browse your options and utilize the Merrick Mentors.
And
Tiffany?
for me, I actually I decided to go to OWU because of the New York Arts program. And I was really excited about it. Like all 3 years, I was like, I can't wait to go. I can't wait to go. Then I went my senior year. But I really decided to go to OWU because of the New York Arts program. And honestly, that's one of the only programs I knew about. But then once going to OWU and meeting Paris and a few other friends of mine who've done like TPGs and like study abroad, I got more familiar with what else the OWU Connection had to offer. And that's when I found out about New Zealand and going to Ghana using a TPG and things like that. So I definitely chose OWU because of the New York Arts program. But then while being on campus, I met a lot of people who traveled abroad.
Great, thank you. Darrell or Lisa, this might be a question for you. How did Ohio Wesleyan's International and Off-Campus Programs Office handle COVID-19, this global pandemic that we're experiencing as it unfolded, and will it impact future student opportunities?
Yeah. We did have a good number of students away during the spring semester. And the COVID-19, the coronavirus did present some challenges. All of those students were able to complete their semesters remotely. We also had, over the spring break, a couple of travel learning courses out. And so we were watching and monitoring the risk that was involved with their travel. So we do we are always concerned about our students, faculty, and staff who are traveling domestically and internationally. We do manage the risk as best as we can, and provide all the services that we are able to provide. It ended up, for the students who were abroad, their semesters ended up much like the semesters ended up for students who were on campus. Returning home, completing coursework remotely. We did have one student in Australia for the semester, and he was able to complete almost all of his program because their academic term was started earlier than our semester had started. So yeah, I would say that this past semester has been for all of our students a challenge. And luckily, all of those students who were studying away got home healthy and were able to complete their programs remotely. Indeed, it's a very good question. The forward-looking part of that question, where do we go from here for international educational exchange? It's a topic of a lot of conversation, and we do expect those students who arrive on campus in the fall or begin at OWU in the fall to have plenty of opportunities. The opportunities will be fewer until things get under control, but we're very hopeful that especially by spring 2021, we'll be having our students engage in a full range of off-campus programs, domestic and international. Lisa, do you want to add anything to that? It's a good question, very good question.
I think it's absolutely a good question. I was on a call today with a number of education abroad professionals from across the state, from Ohio State, from Miami, University of Dayton. This is definitely on the top of everyone's mind. We're all trying to figure out what the short term looks like. I know the long-term goals are to get everyone abroad again. I mean, I know that we're all working towards the day that we're getting folks to all these locations that we've just talked about. And, as Darrell and I reflected on this earlier this week, Darrell's been doing this long enough to remember what a post 9/11 world was like. And the call to global experiences, international education was even stronger following 9/11. And I can imagine that a post-COVID world is going to require even more global understanding and how interconnected we are. So I think that the demand and drive for doing these experiences is just going to increase. So as soon as we can do so safely, I imagine that we will be quite busy figuring out what this looks like. I would also add that our students are incredibly flexible. I mean, Paris was one of those. Paris and Tiffany were both two students abroad in the midst of COVID sort of rolling out in March. They were in Ghana when we started making decisions on campus about what would be happening. And so they sort of, and I didn't know if either of you wanted to reflect on that experience, what it was like to be abroad at the moment that we all kind of knew that this was going to be a thing, and, to make those decisions whether or not to stay or come home early. I don't know if you wanted to offer a sentence or two on that experience.
It was a little stressful. I know, I don't know, I think that we handled the situation very, very nicely, seeing as how, because we didn't want to go first. Okay, primarily we were going to go through Amsterdam and then get to New York from Ghana. But then Lisa was very, very fast in getting our Delta flight, rerouted it. So we just went straight from Ghana to New York and didn't have to, go through Europe. And so just situations like that made it more bearable. And we left, we were supposed to leave on the 14th at like 10:15. And with the new airplane flight, we ended up leaving 15 minutes later. So we actually stayed in it, got a little bit longer. Some people I know did have to leave early. But, you know, overall, I think that we went to Ghana and we did what we went there for. It wasn't cut short. So our case at least was pretty good, I think.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, like
Thanks,
what
Paris.
Paris said. Sorry. I was just gonna add one
No, go
thing,
ahead,
like
Tiffany.
the school did a really good job of communicating very quickly about what was going on while we were in Ghana. So that eased a lot of stress because we were abroad, we were overseas in another country, and here's this coronavirus going around, so we were a little bit scared and stressed, but OWU did a good job of communicating to us about what we need to do while we're here and about how we're getting back and things like that. So yeah, that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Several of you have talked about travel learning courses. Darrell or Lisa, in a normal semester, and we all know that the fall is not going to be normal, but in a typical semester that some of our attendees will hopefully be able to look forward to, what's the average number of travel learning courses that are offered, and does it really span multiple disciplines?
Yeah, we usually offer around 10 travel learning courses each academic year. And indeed, the selection does span the humanities, the social sciences, the biological sciences, the physical sciences. There's usually a wide range of courses that students can choose from. Also, I think importantly for travel learning courses, there are a lot of non-majors that are involved with these. So, you may, as a zoology major, want to do, an English course in Shakespeare in England. And that course satisfies a general distribution requirement. The travel learning portion satisfies your, adds to the credits that you need to graduate. So there is a wide range. We usually offer about 10, sometimes a dozen, and all the disciplines are represented. Have any of the students on the call, Paris, Tiffany, Nathalia, did you take a travel learning course outside of your major?
Yes, my major is History, French, and Black World Studies, and the travel learning course was for the English department. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't, but I have lots of friends who did, and they were able to make it work with their course planning, and they really enjoyed it.
Also, dual requirements saved me at Ohio Wesleyan. So you just made me think about that, Thals, because even though it didn't fit into my major, I was able to get like a writing credit for it. Granted, I could have gotten writing credit somewhere else too, but just, it fills up requirements. So think about that as well. Don't just, even though it was a fun class, it was definitely useful in going towards my degree. So.
Great, thank you. We haven't talked as much about international internship opportunities. When one pursues an internship internationally, is that typically part of a study abroad program, or are there standalone options?
Do you want me to take this one, Darrell? Okay.
Yeah, good.
So yes. So most of our international internship opportunities are provided through our institutional partners. And these are third-party providers that have networks all over the globe. And so what they'll do is help students connect with these international internship opportunities. So those could be completed as a part of a semester-long study abroad experience. So just as if you were to do an internship on campus or in local community, you would maybe take 2 or 3 classes abroad, and then you would get 2 or 3 courses worth of credit in internship. You can also do them as a standalone experience during the summer. So we have a number of students that will take advantage of internships internationally during the summer. So they can just literally go to Milan and do a 20-hour-a-week internship, maybe in the fashion industry or something like that. And then obviously the New York Arts Program, Art Center, and Chicago Center, they all provide semester-long internship opportunities at those locations. And those are really internship intensive. So most of this time the students are there, they're completing their internships and they're receiving credit for doing so.
Great, thank you. One of the other things that was mentioned a few times by several of you was the UC 160 class. Can somebody talk just briefly about what is UC 160 and how is this concept of going global integrated into it?
I mean, I could talk about this as an instructor, but I'm also curious to see if any of our students remember back to their UC 160 classes, and if you remembered the sort of global aspect of those presentations. So I'll let you think about that for a minute, and I'll just share, again, as a UC 160 instructor, we will set aside specific class sessions where we go through all the opportunities that students have. We'll have the Merrick Mentors come into class one day and share their own personal experiences. We may do a little field trip over to Merrick Hall where students can see where our offices are, where they would talk to a Merrick Mentor. We also might engage other faculty. A number of the faculty who lead our travel learning courses are also UC 160 instructors. So you'll get a firsthand account of what those experiences are like directly from the faculty involved. But I think there's a lot of different ways. I've even Skyped in alums who maybe studied abroad as a student or did a theory to practice grant and have them share as an alumnus how they're continuing to go global beyond OWU. You know, we may have someone Skype in from Myanmar. We had someone who worked for USAID who was doing international development in Myanmar, and she Skyped into the UC 160 class and talked to students about her experiences. So there's different ways that we would like to integrate that into UC 160. Do any of our students remember us doing this as cheer students?
I think when I started at Ohio Wesleyan, I think the UC 160 class was just now becoming a requirement. And so I think it was still, you know, kind of in its fledgling stages. But we did have people come in and talk to us about the OWU Connection. But for the majority of the time, I think it was mainly to acquaint us with Ohio Wesleyan in general, and then the OWU Connection wasn't as big a part of it at that time. So I think it's evolved now, but.
Very good. Thank you for those perspectives. An ever popular question: will my financial aid package transfer to my study abroad experience? And are there funds available to help with extra costs like airfare? Darrell, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so affordability and getting access to off-campus experiences, it's very important. And we do have some experiences like the Theory to Practice grant program that are competitive grant programs where students apply 3 or 4 times a year for the opportunity to get funding, complete funding to do a project, a project abroad domestically. But for study abroad and domestic off-campus semesters, we have a system here where students pay Ohio Wesleyan tuition, pay an off-campus program fee, and then their aide travels with them. We have different programs in different parts of the world, and the costs are different. And so we provide every student with a budget sheet that shows them what they will be billed for, but then also shows them an estimate of out-of-pocket expenses. We actually have many programs where the billed costs, the net cost is lower than being on campus. However, you might have to pay for your food out of pocket, so your out-of-pocket costs might be higher. So it varies, costs vary greatly location to location, and we provide as much information as we can on the budget sheets about those costs. Your aid does transfer. We also repackage. Our financial aid office repackages you for your federal financial aid for your semester away. We also encourage students and we coach students through the process of getting additional scholarship for their study abroad experiences. And Paris, I think it's been mentioned that Paris received a federal Gilman scholarship for her semester away. And we have many students who get other support, support from other organizations for study abroad. So we do everything that we can do to make it affordable. And we've seen recently, fairly significant increases in the amount of external aid that our students are receiving, whether it's Gilman or whether it's aid from the institutions or programs that they're going on. Lisa, would you like to add to that?
Just to add that we really do encourage that students, again, this is part of the planning process, come early, meet with our mentors, meet with us, and there, again, on the website, we have a full list of outside financial aid that you can explore for studying abroad. I always mention sort of the quirky ones that really show if you shake the trees, you're gonna find scholarships. We had a student receive a scholarship from her sorority, her social sorority that she was involved with on campus. We've had students receive scholarships from Rotary clubs back home. So I think it's always interesting to hear those different opportunities, and our students can be the best resources when it comes to looking for those. I wanted to circle back real quick and just mention our travel learning courses, which you've heard us talk a lot about. Those are also subsidized by the university. And because of our generous alumni and donors, we're able to subsidize the cost. And so students end up paying about half out of pocket. So about half of the cost of the travel learning course, the student is paid for through their student account, through their billing with their tuition, and then the other half is covered by the university. And I think that's really important. And they're all at different price points. So we have travel learning courses that are just a few $100s if they're domestic, that go all the way up to over $2,000 if you're in Europe for a couple weeks.
Fantastic. So we have just about 1 minute left. So I'm going to ask each of you to just give a very short answer. Any quick last words of advice or just a top resource that you would recommend? Lisa, it sounds to me like you gave yours. You said several times, come early, come talk to us early. What one piece of advice would you share students that helped make your experience as the best that it could be? And Darrell and Lisa, anything else that you'd recommend to those listening as they think about their first steps at OWU and all the off-campus study opportunities?
Maybe start with the students first. Thalia?
Yes, I would, along with Lisa, say plan early for your trips, and most importantly, just take advantage of the opportunities that are put forth in front of you. There are so many great opportunities to travel and learn, and I would say I would really encourage you to take the school up on these trips and travel learning courses and grants that they are presenting to you.
Tiffany?
Yeah, I would say definitely go early. For me, in my experience, for some odd reason, I was behind and I went a little late and I missed out on a few scholarship opportunities. But I definitely would say go as early as possible, talk to the Merrick Mentors. They have all the information for you, and definitely take advantage of the TPGs because you can travel pretty much anywhere you want for free, and that's pretty cool. So I would definitely say go early and take advantage of the theater practice grants.
Paris?
Yeah, I would say read the instructions on these pages because at least for the theater practice grant, just read the entire thing, you know, get well acquainted with these pages that describe these grants and these opportunities because one, it can help you obviously while you're working on them, and then two, it just you get more information, and when you go and finally want to talk to a Merrick Mentor, you want to talk to Lisa or Darrell, then you have a much better understanding of what you need help with, if that makes sense. So I would say just if even now, if you're not even in college yet, but just go and look at studio abroad. Go look at the different countries and things like that, and what you may need, what you like. They have like a search engine and things that you can just put in your preferences. Just go and explore these sites and get acquainted with them. And then again, yeah, they said plan early. That's one of the first steps, is just reading up on these different programs, because it can get a little overwhelming because there's a bunch, but it's good that it's a bunch. So yeah.
Lisa?
I would just share that if you're watching this, you probably imagine yourself doing these things already, which is awesome. If you stumbled upon this and you think this is not who I think I might be, or I'm not that person, I've never left the country. Maybe I'm the first person in my family to go to college. I don't have a passport. I was that student. A lot of the students on this call are in that situation, or were in that situation when they came to OWU, that really the first time they got a passport or maybe even got on a plane was through an experience like this. So if you sort of don't see yourself doing these things, you can do these things. And we're here to help you navigate all the processes to do them. We want to help you figure out the way. I've taken students to the post office to get their passport before. So we're happy to do that. And we really are excited to see you take advantage of these things. And again, I cannot stress how important it is in our world today that we continue to develop these global experiences and these global attitudes. So very important. We're excited that you're coming our way.
I really, it's hard for me to add anything at this point, but come on in and see us, because even if you don't have, a question that you really want to ask, if you just want to engage in a discussion, what's your major, what opportunities might be available, would this work? Can I talk to a student that went to the New York Arts program? Can I talk to a student who studied abroad in Paris, or a student who found a film program in New Zealand? We want to talk to you. We want to see how we can make things work for you, and that you can get experiences that, really will add to your 4 years here and will be life-changing.
Very good. Thanks so much, Darrell. Thanks so much to all of our panelists for your terrific insights and sharing your fabulous experiences with us. To those of you who are attending this session, thanks for joining us this evening. I hope you were able to learn a lot about all the many opportunities you'd have at Ohio Wesleyan studying away and studying abroad. If there are questions that you still have, look at the bottom of the screen here. You'll see that Darrell and Lisa's email addresses are listed there. I know that either would be happy to answer additional questions that you may have about our programs. If you're also looking for more general information on Ohio Wesleyan, every day at 4 o'clock, an admission officer leads a general information session. This Saturday will also be our last Saturday information session for the year. That'll be at 10 a.m. And we'll have more Bishop Plus sessions like this throughout the rest of the month. So check out the schedule online. Thanks again, everyone. Stay safe and have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.